Hi, my name is Jennifer Luarca. I'm an academic coach at the Learning Center, and this short workshop is going to focus on creating a study space and also setting boundaries for effective online learning. Two things that are critical to our success this semester, but also really, really challenging given all of the additional things we need to worry about this fall. So, our topics are going to focus on setting up our learning space, both physical and virtual. And then we're going to move on to setting boundaries for solid learning. And lastly, we're going to focus on harnessing focus and motivation. So first, setting up a learning space. Physically, it's really important that you take care of your physical environment and that you take the time to set up your environment so that it's conducive or productive for you as a learner. So we want to first and foremost find a place where we can sit upright. Ideally, this would be a desk or table, but if that's not available to you, you can use a made bed with a wall to support your back. You can sit on the floor while working on a hard chair or table, maybe a coffee table. And then if you're in a shared space, which I am actually in as I work, I'm in the living room, you want to move it, position yourself so that your back is to any distractors. So your back is to the TV, entryways, anything that changes that other housemates might be using. So as I talk to you now, I'm facing out a window, I have the blinds drawn, and my back is to the television. We got to make do with what we have available to us, but there are things that we can do if we survey our space, take the time on the weekend to set ourselves up. We can still be really successful in the space that we have available to us. We also want to think about lighting as learners. Lighting is really important for long-term focus. Blue light from screens fatigues our eye and causes shorter focus times. So when possible, we want to work with natural light and allow that natural light, or at least incorporate natural light into our study breaks or our learning breaks. And then if you tend to get distracted with things moving outside of your window, you may want to move inside away from windows, but still have bright lights on so that it supports your eyes in processing. You're learning at night or in a room without windows, then we again want to make sure we have lights on. I know that our devices glow and we have a tendency to sit in dark spaces and stare at them, but again, that can really fatigue our eye and shorten our focus time. We also want to think about where we're going to take our breaks. Natural light breaks every hour to an hour and a half are going to be critical to our ability to kind of recharge and refocus for our next learning session. Lastly, we want to make sure that as we're setting up our learning space, we are putting our learning materials in that space so that we have pens and pencils within reach, we have our books within reach, our viewing device is stable and not in something we have to hold. So getting a stand or a prop of some sort, even just like another book to prop up our tablet, can be really helpful to free up our hands. And then we always want to make sure we have plenty of water and a snack available in our learning space as well. Now we want to think about curating our virtual space. And this is where big challenges come in because we are usually using our devices for enjoyment, shopping, or personal business. We're not usually using them so much for learning and interaction academically. So we need to take some time and clean up our virtual space as well. We want to make sure that we eliminate the distractors, or we at least tuck them away into folders so they're not there on our screens. Arriving or logging on about 5 to 10 minutes early can really help us organize our virtual space. Logging on, making sure that we have our meeting ID ready, that we're in whatever platform we need to be in, and then also minimizing any tabs that aren't useful at the time, disabling notifications, closing windows for shopping, or maybe our Spotify or something is up, closing those things out. You can always log in later. We also want to make sure that wherever we're at, we have a strong internet connection, as strong as possible. And we want to ensure that our device is charged, or if not, we have our plug-in available right there with us so we can plug in if we need to. So just taking the time to think through this and setting ourselves up at the beginning of our day to just make sure all of our resources are available can really, really help us in terms of making sure that we're all set up. Now, if we're thinking about creating boundaries, time management schedule can be helpful in doing so. So we want to make sure that we are creating weekly study schedules. We are sharing those schedules when we are on for learning, and when we are studying, we're sharing that with our housemates. Basically, a Sunday night is a great time to say, hey, housemates, this is when I'm busy this week. This is when I'm not free. Just so people know that you're busy and you're not available to them, right? That can help with reducing some distraction. We also want to let our housemates know what to do if we're in class. So saying, you know what, while I'm in class, can you just leave me a note, or here's a pen and paper, or text me, or come back later. This is when I'll be free. Just something to direct that. A lot of times we assume people know what we want them to do, and most of the time they don't. They can't read our mind. So we need to be very direct, but also super polite, letting them know this is what I want you to do if I'm busy. Okay, that can just help with a lot in the long run. Then we want to think about our classes and our study sessions as work time. So just like, people would know not to bother you if you were on campus physically learning. We want that same type of boundary in home or in your learning environment. So we want to stick to our schedule, make sure that it's firm, make sure that people know what our schedule is and that we're not available at those times, and resist the urge to push things off or not view that lecture regularly, right? Especially if your lectures are recorded, you may have a tendency to say, I'll watch it all at once. And first of all, we know we're going to get tired if we watch more than one lecture at a time, and the chances of us procrastinating is even greater if we put everything off till the last minute. So we want to stay on our schedules and keep working that system if we can. Now, setting boundaries with people can be equally as challenging, but totally possible. First step is sharing our schedule, letting people know when we're free and when we're not free. Explaining or sharing our goals and our goals for interaction with them is going to be helpful. So letting them know why you're busy, that can help people understand why not to bother you. And then also acknowledging your needs and their needs, which can help you kind of work together to develop a resolution. So there's a few examples here on the screen. I'll go with the last one. I need some time to work on this paper. Let's print or find a coloring page and find you a special show to watch with headphones on. In an hour, we can take a walk and you can tell me about your show. That's an example you might want to use if you're a parent working with small children in the house, right? We need to have that time alone, but we also need to engage them and let them know we care and we hear that they want to do something. So that's a really great way to do that. In terms of the second one, I really need some time to study what I learned today, but I also want to help you around the house. Can you leave the dishes in the sink and I'll get to them around 2 o'clock this afternoon? So letting people know, I can't do something exactly when you want me to do it, but I still want to engage and participate with you and support this house, right? And keep things clean. I can do it at this time. So engaging in discussions like that as soon as an issue arrives can really, really help keep a good environment, which is helpful also for learning. If we're worried about or stressed about relationships, then we aren't focused fully on our learning. So having these conversations, working these things out ahead of time can be very helpful. Overall, most of the time, people just want to know that you care, that you are engaged, and if you're busy with something else, they can feel like you might not care. So communication is key. Letting them know what you're doing and when you can be available is important. And once you reconnect, make sure that you engage with them in the way that you usually do as friends or family. Now, in terms of minimizing distractions that we bring into our lives, right, here are a few tips for that. So keeping your phone on silent, just like if you were in class in person. Making sure that your environment is ready to go. You can create, if you do have if you're lucky enough to have your own room to work in, you can create a please come back message that you can put on your door with some post-its so people can just write a message there. Investing in a few things, if possible, can really help. Getting a good set of headphones, an extension cord, additional chargers, notepads, a good desk chair could be really, really helpful, so that you're comfortable in your space and that you have what you need to work well, right? We may not have these great offices or these great collaborative learning spaces that are available on campus, but not to us right now. But we can still work with our own environments and do the best we can. Then we also want to make sure that we're taking breaks every hour or two to move around, to look outside, to breathe some fresh air, right? And just kind of give ourselves a different perspective and get our blood flowing a little bit so that when we come back to study, we can refocus and engage even better. Now, in terms of studying, we want to make sure that we're setting goals. This will help drive our focus and increase our motivation if we're achieving goals. So we want to make sure that every day, and this can happen as you arrive to your learning space a few minutes early, you can write down your goals for your day. So, what do I want to accomplish today? Or maybe even on a Sunday night or a Monday morning, it's what am I going to take care of this week? What needs to happen in each of my classes? What assignments do I need to turn in? And, who am I going to reach out to for moral support or for that social aspect that I need in my life, right? And then breaking things down daily is just bits and pieces of those larger assignments, inching towards those bigger goals, and crossing off accomplishments that you have each day can really, really help in terms of motivation. In terms of staying focused, we want to make sure that we're fueled for the long haul, right? For the whole week, we're getting 7 to 8 hours a night. There's supposed to be a T at the end of that. That we're reducing screen time during weekdays that you attend class. So if you're attending class Monday through Thursday, your screen time needs to go down during those 4 days so that your eyes are not being taxed so much. So you can increase it during the weekends, but on the weekdays, we want to make sure that we're not using our social media too much. We're not watching too much TV or gaming that much. We want to make sure that we're eating and drinking on a regular schedule. This sounds silly, we're all adults, but what we're finding is in the virtual space, we can go long, long periods of time without drinking water and without eating. So that is where the breaks come in too. If you're finding that you're hitting the wall or, kind of not being productive after 2 or 3 during the day, that can be an indicator that you're dehydrated. So it's important to make sure that you're getting enough water throughout your day, you're taking a break to have snacks, you're refueling on a regular basis. And this is so critical to learning because your brain can't process efficiently if it's dehydrated or malnourished. So it's important enough that I would recommend, if you're finding this to be a habit of not eating and drinking enough, that you're setting yourself some breaks and setting yourself up with reminders on your phone, okay? And then I would recommend before each lecture just filling up a water bottle, having that available to you during class. It's real easy to drink water and listen. Just making sure you get that nourishment throughout your day. Now this strategy can help a lot with focus. It's called the Be Here Now technique. And it's really important. Its base is in mindfulness. And this is something that we use often when we're doing yoga or mindful meditation. And it's a reminder to refocus and be in the moment. So the way we want to adapt this to academics is, again, we want to have a clear, defined goal for our study session. We want to be concrete. Write that down on a piece of paper somewhere in your learning environment. When your mind starts to wander, we want to gently stop and say, be here now, and refocus ourselves on that goal. Even saying it out loud, be here now, and then read your goal out loud, and then start working on that goal. If you can get started and work on that goal for about 5 minutes, studies show that you can continue to work. It's about 5 minutes, that transition into a new task that can be a little challenging. But if you can stick with it for 5 minutes, then we tend to be able to stick with it for longer. So The Be Here Now technique is really there to help you realize when your mind is drifting or when you're not being productive, refocus yourself on the task at hand, and get started again. So, like I said, this is a mindful approach. It will take time to cultivate this response and this pattern. Be patient, but most importantly, be consistent with yourself. And with practice, you'll be able to refocus really, really quickly. Now, this is also helpful as a professional. So, this is a skill you can develop now as a student that you'll be able to carry into the professional world, and it's going to be really, really helpful there. Now, in terms of motivation, again, we're circling back to those goals. So, goals really sit at the center of motivation, of focus. It's that purpose that drives us for each task that we're trying to accomplish. So, as I said just a minute ago, we want to activate that 5-minute rule. Actively start working on a task for 5 minutes. Begin reading, start writing, do some flashcards. If you're still disengaged after those 5 minutes, then you can take a break. But most likely after 5 minutes, you will still be engaged. So keep going if it works for you. And then we want to set up a reward for ourselves. So, for example, if I work on this task for an hour, then I'm going to do 30 minutes of yoga, right? I'm going to find some sort of break that I enjoy that will feed me in a different way. And that's it for me. A lot of information there. I hope you found some tips that might help you be a little more engaged and focused and help you with setting boundaries as you begin to learn online. For more help with these topics or for help with things like time management, exam prep, reading strategies, you can schedule free appointments with me or another academic coach. Appointments are available through Beach Connect, and for more information on appointments and also additional learning resources, you can visit our webpage at the Learning Center. So if you Google academic coaching at the Learning Center at CSULB, that'll plop you right into our page and you can explore options from there. Thanks so much. Have a great semester.